Good morning, everyone. Okay, we'll continue with our book reading this morning. The Toyota Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Leica and Karen Ross. Okay, yesterday on page 245, we looked at build a deliberate culture, then find people who fit in it. We looked at Menlo's culture, observative culture in their organization, where they have deliberately built a culture of teamwork, of one person assisting the other person and looking for people to fit in. It also told us the tactics and strategy they use to find these people to fit into their culture. So today we'll continue reading about their culture and how they've built a deliberate culture and how they also look for people to fit into this culture. So on page 247, said working in pairs is exhilarating and there is joy in accomplishment. Finish a story card and you have a sense of accomplishment. Get a green sticker from the quality advocate and there's a buzz. But get the customer to come in week by week. Use your program flawlessly or give useful feedback, and that is priceless. On the other hand, for some people, pairing is their worst nightmare and they prefer to work alone. So be it. They have their choice of the vast majority of other IT firms in the world that are not Menlo. We have seen other companies with individualistic culture that try to adopt pairing programming. It really works. One way Menlo's culture caters to the common values of software programmers is to approach to meetings. Meetings can be distractions from the joy of the accomplishment, so they are kept short at Menlo's. Every day, there is an all employee meeting, but it is not a bunch of people packing a conference room and competing for the good chair. For the good chair, coffee and donuts in hand. It is a stand-up meeting in a huge circle. 70 people holding meetings. Two people report out a time, each holding a horn of the infamous Viking helmet that Rich and his wife Carol brought back from a trip to Norway. It became a symbol of collaboration and it is fun. Those holding it have the floor and report out. The helmet circulates around the circle. Everyone gets to speak in pairs. Others chime in if they have something to offer, and the meeting is short and ends on time, usually 12 to 15 minutes after it starts. As visitors to Menlo have experienced, buying lots of Viking helmets will not reproduce Menlo's culture. It is deep in the hearts and minds of Melonians. Is Toyota's culture Japanese and oppressive? Is it unfair of Menlo to expect all members to conform to its apparent loose culture, which in reality is loaded with strict rule expectation and codes of conduct? Rich Sheridan says he and his partners create a deliberate culture. They have a vision and they are continually working towards that vision. A deliberate culture will almost by definition feel oppressive to people who do not fit in. Those who do not belong but manage to slip through the selection filters will feel alienated and will often complain until they leave. When this happens, the culture is functioning as intended. If you want service excellence, do not compromise your deliberate culture that is working to fulfill its purpose in order to accommodate everyone's personal vision of a desired culture. Find people who fit and then socialize them into the culture. Of course, not all organizations have the luxury of renewing themselves through hiring. What do you do if you already have entrenched employees who do not fit the culture the organization decide it wants to change to? Then you have to work to socialize them into the new culture and develop them, which is the subject of chapter 8. What you will notice is that some will develop faster and faster than others. Those are the ones you want to promote. Selection does not end at hiring, but rather it continues as people develop and promoted or not. Okay, this is your stuff for reading this morning. I can say what we just read this morning is quite self-explanatory. Most people don't like working in pairs. Most people like working in pairs. Most people do well when they work alone. Most people do well when they don't work in pairs. Okay, so like I said in the beginning, that Menlo has actually done a deliberate work to develop their culture and look for people who fit in. They've developed that culture of continuous learning, developed that culture of organizational work process, everybody working together and doing things together. So most times in an organization, when you employ people or when you have employees that do not fit into the organizational culture, you begin to have conflicts with them. Their thinking doesn't align with your own thinking. What they say doesn't align with what you say. Their vision doesn't align with the kind of vision you have for the organization. So these are things that come up when trying to build a company's culture, or when a company has deliberately built its culture and is working or making out ways for the employees to work with that kind of culture. So this is where we'll stop for our reading today. And in our next reading in Principle 12, we'll be looking at integrate outside partners. Integrate outside partners. And I believe we'll still be looking at how to continually work with your customers and organization to fit into the culture